The CIA was involved in lots, I don't know how many, but according to the British film, and they had pretty good documentation from the Cubans, there were 628 attempts on Castro's life. The CIA was involved in more than half of them.
Why did they want Fidel Castro dead?
Well, I think in the U.S. government, it was thought that as soon as Fidel was gone, the Cuban Revolution was gone, and they would get Cuba back. It would be back in their pocket as they had it before. I mean, if you look at Cuba before the revolution, it was an economic colony of the United States. And I think the U.S. government felt a sense of loss, a sense of humiliation almost. Who lost Cuba? I mean, this was a discussion way back in the 1960s. Who was responsible for losing Cuba? And Eisenhower was blamed, and Kennedy was blamed. But the thought was, look at all those corporations that used to own the island. The sugar companies, King Ranch, and other huge American corporations who had huge assets there. And they were all expropriated. Oil companies, Texaco.
They all worked with Batista, the former dictator.
Oh, Batista was a brutal dictator. He killed, according to the Cuban figures, 20,000 people over a period of 5 years. And practiced routine torture. And he was supported by the U.S. government until quite late in the game.
So how did the scrappy group of insurgents, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, how did they overthrow Batista?
Well, I think Castro and his group used a combination of guerrilla war, which they fought from several mountains. That is, the Sierra Maestra and the Sierra Cristal, the two mountain ranges in the eastern province in Oriente in Cuba. And then there was another group fighting from the Escambray Mountains. And they tried to coordinate their activities with an urban guerrilla or urban, if you like, revolutionary group that was also causing the repressive forces to put a lot of attention and men to them. They were creating sabotage, propaganda. And Batista, by 1958, was an extremely unpopular leader. Because he had been a sergeant and not one of the old guard army people, he really wasn't in bed with the old Cuban aristocrats and didn't owe them any loyalty. He was in bed with the mafia. He was on good terms with them for the gambling and the prostitution and all that stuff. So he didn't feel any kinship with the upper middle class or the aristocracy, many of whose kids were being picked up by the cops and tortured or even killed. So he lost a lot of popularity, and when the revolutionaries won, they won with overwhelming popular support. That didn't last, of course. As soon as the revolution showed that it was serious about class things and distributing wealth, the upper class moved out and they went to Miami. And this was pretty well completed by late 1960. The richest people in Cuba had left the island.
So tell us who the Cuban Five are.
The Cuban Five were intelligence agents who were part of a larger web of intelligence group called the WASP. And 12 of them either got pleas or fled and got away.
And they were charged with things like what?
They were charged with